Viewer discretion is advised.
Ready?
Yep.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Gosh darn it. You know they do. I'm curious what kind of accents might apply to today's topic. I've never been to that area, so I frankly don't know.
Not much of one.
Okay. Respect.
The accents aren't super strong in the Southwest, the American Southwest.
All right.
I don't think.
I mean, I didn't, when we were in New Mexico, I feel like I did not notice any like discernible or to me, personally discernible, personally distinctive regional accent. But that's to my ear, which the value I put on this is absolute zero.
Minimal.
Yep. So I would love, honestly, like voice memo me your American Southwest accents because I would love them.
Because, I'm Lucy.
Yep. I'm Amanda. Sorry. Yep.
We
started before we started.
We got a little ahead of ourselves.
We did.
Today we have a very special fan pick from Dustin Perez.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you, Dustin.
Dusty P.
Dusty P. Oh.
Everything is Dustin Perez.
Dustin Perez is everything. Dustin chose the topic of Lake Tahoe crimes.
All the photos of Lake Tahoe.
It looks Caribbean.
Oh my God, it's just Gorgina. I mean, we live in such a huge country that I frequently forget the boundless natural beauties that exist right within even just the contiguous United States.
They're
it's
everywhere.
Wild.
Yeah.
So we should protect them, right? Federal government.
Right.
Guys,
well,
I'm on a razor's edge.
I am barely clinging on.
No, when they say skin of my teeth, they mean it.
Didn't know my teeth had skin until I was there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get going because I think that this might be a good distraction from
some of the horrors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for Lake Tahoe crimes?
Well, Dusty P recommended that we shout out and check out Tahoe Blue Vodka, which is I literally wrote, don't worry, the vodka itself is not blue. Dustin would not harm us like that.
I've had my time
your
with
UV
blue
blue flashbacks, your PTSD.
Ugh.
You were fighting for your life out there.
Dry just thinking about it.
One UV blue at a time.
Ooh.
No, this is a, frankly, stunning looking vodka out of Lake Tahoe. Like when you go to their website, which is TahoeBlueVodka.com, you're greeted by literally the glistening mountain foot waters of Lake Tahoe.
Mountain foot?
Well, there's little ranges in the background.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. So, the Tahoe Blue Vodka is inspired by Lake Tahoe, which straddles California and Nevada with a maximum depth of over 1,600 feet, which I'm sure you're going to get to. But this is local to that region and inspired by that region.
Okay.
When you drink Tahoe Blue Vodka, you support Lake Tahoe because they donate a portion of their proceeds to help preserve both the lake itself and the diverse environment surrounding it. So I thought that was pretty cool that you can feel good about what you're drinking because you are supporting the conservation and preservation of one of our country's most gorgeous natural features. This is the world's only vodka crafted from pristine Tahoe water.
Oh, it's made from the water?
Sure is.
Oh.
It is a 3 vodka blend that finishes as clean and smooth as the lake it's named for. So smooth, in fact, it's claimed dozens of awards and been named best tasting and best in class by various judges.
Well, do they know how many corpses are in Lake Tahoe?
I don't know if they do, but I have a feeling that you do.
Nobody does.
Oh, okay. Well, great. They do have this at Total Wine. They did not have it at my local Total Wine, which makes me really sad, but I'm going to order it because it truly sounds spectacular. But their website is awesome and also has recommendations of what to do with your Tahoe Blue. And they shared a couple of their favorite recipes from among their staff, and I'm going to share them with you as well and then let you know which one I'm drinking.
All right.
So the founder's favorite, this is super easy and delicious and refreshing. It's a vodka soda, like a tall boy with ice and 1.5 ounces, wink, wink, however much vodka you need to put in there, Tahoe Blue Vodka, and then soda water. But you garnish it with an orange slice, which I'm a huge fan of.
Okay.
In Amsterdam, they serve gin and tonics in like a big goblet with an orange slice.
Yum.
And I'm obsessed.
We need more orange garnishes.
I agree.
Sick of limes.
Another one that is also not blue, but the name may confuse you, may send you in a different direction.
A blue herring?
It's a blue herring, is the Blue Samurai, which is 2 ounces of Tahoe Blue Vodka, an ounce of simple syrup, a pea-sized dollop of wasabi,
ooh,
and a cucumber slice. I thought that one sounded awesome.
Maybe. Do you shake it then?
Yeah, you'd shake that you'd shake it. You'd make one cocktail at a time in your shaker.
Yeah.
They, of course, have things like Bloody Marys, hard lemonades, Tahoe Mule, things that are like the vodka classics. But I also had to share one that was going to fulfill your fears, the Lady in Blue, which is, in fact, a blue cocktail. And it is very blue. It's like Margaritaville blue. I'm kind of living for it. It's a 1.5 ounces of Tahoe Blue Vodka, 0.75 ounces of lemon juice, 0.5 ounces of simple syrup, 0.25 ounces of creme de voilette, which is where you get some of that blue. Then you're going to top it off with a little blue curacao.
Of course, that blue doesn't come natural.
Nope, that's our girl. 2 drops orange flower water, and you can garnish it with an edible flower. So if you're looking for something that's going to make you feel like you're on a retired white lady's island vacation, the Lady in Blue is going to be the one for you.
If you're, what's it called? Barb and Star taking Vista Del Mar.
Yep. Then
go to Vista Del Mar.
You might want to check out the Lady in Blue. But I am drinking the founder's favorite.
Cute.
Because I had vodka and I had oranges and I had soda. And I want to make clear, I did look up Tahoe Blue Vodka to see if I could get it at my local Total Wine, but I could not. But I do want to try this. So check them out at TahoeBlueVodka.com. You can get recipe ideas, learn about their business and where you can get their stuff. And it's just like, I want to go to Lake Tahoe so bad.
I fucking do too. Let's do a Gals Go to Lake Tahoe.
Done. Are you drinking anything fun or special today?
As I mentioned, I had a cocktail before we started. So I feel adequately pre-lubed.
Good. Great.
And I got my pen.
Perfect.
So
then you have everything you need.
On both ends. I have everything I need. And some ice water. And a snack.
Oh my God. Well, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors so that you can dive into all of the Lake Tahoe madness.
Let's do it. Spring's here, people. And you know what that means. Wedding season.
My favorite.
So many weddings this year for me personally. Whether you're attending a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, or the actual wedding itself, it's time to get dressed up again. Shake off those winter mulligrubs, those cobwebs, and get a great outfit. Because a great outfit always starts with great shapewear. Let's be real, no one has time for shapewear that feels uncomfortable or restrictive or like takes you forever to put it on or take it off. And luckily, you don't have to settle for that stuff. Today's episode is brought to you by Honey Love, the brand that's setting a new standard for shapewear.
It's wedding season for all, but it is like thighs fusing together season for me.
Yeah.
And that is where Honey Love's Superpower Short has quite literally saved my thighs year after year.
Saved your butt.
Saved my butt, lifted it up, saved my thighs from rubbing together. It's so comfy. It's so easy to wear. I'm obsessed. Honey Love uses targeted compression to sculpt and smooth where you want it and ease off where you don't. That means it's super effective and comfortable to wear all day long. It's shapewear that works with your body, not against it. And if you're wondering what the difference might be there, honestly, you're going to feel it. You're going to see it immediately when you put it on. Plus, it's got this flexible boning in the side seams that keeps it from rolling down, which is like such a common issue I was running into. You'll never have to sneakily adjust yourself in public again, even after a night of dancing. Plus, their shapewear features lingerie-inspired design details that you'll want to show off. So, if you've got weddings on the brain this season, Honey Love has definitely got you covered. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can get Honey Love on sale. Save 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/wine. Support the show and start your year off right by checking them out at honeylove.com/wine.
Treat yourself to the most comfortable shapewear on earth and save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/wine. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/wine. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent ya. Experience the new standard in shapewear with Honey Love. This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack sponsor. IQ Bar is the better-for-you plant protein-based snacks made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash.
I love IQ Bar. I am so bad at making myself breakfast, and IQ Bar has fully changed the game for me. Their plant protein bars are packed with high quality ingredients to keep you physically and mentally fit. IQ Bar is totally free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners for a natural anytime snack. I am in love with their flavors. They have 9 delicious flavors, including mint chocolate chip, chocolate sea salt, banana nut, toasted coconut chip. My favorite is the lemon blueberry. I also love the peanut butter chip. And honestly, with over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are starting their days on the right foot with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. I'm obsessed. Their hydration mixes are so good. And again, don't have all that extra sugar in them that's going to spike my blood sugar in the morning. I'm a diabetic girly. I got to be careful about what I put in my body. IQ Bar is always an easy one for me to reach for.
And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, text GALS to 64,000. Text GALS to 64,000. That's GALS to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Did you know that Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers? They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. It's so amazing that you can literally search with your zip code and find your zone. So you're not leafing, quote unquote, through plants that won't even grow in your area. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home, our other favorite thing. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them.
I got a cherry tree from Fast Growing Trees.
Same girl.
I couldn't plant it right away. She sat on my porch for longer than I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
Popped her in the ground a couple weeks ago. She is thriving.
Yeah.
I was shocked that I didn't accidentally kill it because of that.
Yeah, I actually had to put mine in a pot for the same reason and keep it inside by a window until the last freeze, which she can finally be planted now. But she's already sprouting leaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in great shape.
The health of these trees, my God. So if you have a big yard, a small yard, or no yard, they have over 6,000 plants to fit any space, from indoor plants. They got house plants. They got fruit trees, full-size privacy trees, so much more. I have a lot of fun just browsing their website. Also, funny anecdote, like 6 years ago, I planted one arborvitae on the side of my house.
Girl, you tried.
I got it for free from work and I was like, okay, I'm just going to plant it. And then I like stopped seeing it because it's just one, you know, that's sort of an odd plant to just have one of. And now I got my cherry tree and I was like looking around. I'm like, I'm going to plant trees all over. Like this spring, I already have a whole landscaping plan thanks to fast growing trees. I'm like, oh, maybe my arborvitae needs like 4 or 5 friends. And I have all the confidence in the world that the ones that I get from fast growing trees are going to be exceptionally healthy and they're going to just make my yard so beautiful.
It's also just such a great website for people who are like maybe kind of new to gardening or feel like they don't have a green thumb. Like, folks, these people will walk you through every step of the process. You can do, if I can do it, baby, you can do it. Okay.
I'm so confident now.
So confident. And this spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code GALS at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code GALS at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code GALS. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use GALS to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Welcome back to Wine and Crime.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Lucy, I am excited to hear how many bodies are in Lake Tahoe. So would you like to present your findings to the class?
You're not going to hear how many because so many will never be found.
Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it. It's right.
Golly.
So Lake Tahoe sits on the border of California and Nevada. Make up your mind. And is the largest alpine lake. It is the largest alpine lake in North America. So that means it's at or above the tree line.
Which Lake Superior is not.
No.
No.
Nope. So she sits at over 6,000 feet above sea level. She's also very deep. As you mentioned, she gets to about 1,600 feet deep, putting her in second place behind Crater Lake in Oregon, who's just a bit deeper at 1,900 feet deep.
Hey, Siri, how deep is the deepest part of Lake Superior?
The deepest part of Lake Superior is 1,333 feet, 406 meters. This is from Lake.
No, don't care. Shut your mouth. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Wow. Okay. So they're not like, I mean, I would assume in terms of depth and pressure, that's a pretty decent difference at 300 feet. But like to us, if you're going to walk 1,300 feet versus 1,600 feet, it doesn't feel that different. But
I don't think it really would.
But dang, that's some deep ass fucking lakes.
It's very deep, especially considering when you think about like the pressure and like what can survive down there.
Yeah.
There isn't a big difference between 1,600 and 1,900 feet.
I guess not.
Like,
once you get into that
deep.
zone, you're crushing.
Literally crushing. So Lake Tahoe is the 6th largest lake by volume in the United States. So it's basically the 5 Great Lakes and then her.
Interesting. I wonder why she didn't make the cut.
Well, the Great Lakes are kind of connected up there, you know?
I suppose.
She's kind of alone down southwest.
She's holding it down.
She's holding it down. So, of course, this makes the lake a hub for tourism because being surrounded on all sides by mountains and gorgeous forests makes for excellent skiing in the winter. And those beaches, that water, the sheer size.
Does she freeze?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because Lake Superior doesn't really freeze either. You'll get some ice like right along the shoreline, but it's not a lake that you can like skate or ice fish on. It's like,
no,
it has like a fucking tide.
Well, this is also like in Nevada.
Right. Oh, true.
Yeah.
I look at those snow-capped mountains surrounding it and I'm like, oh, it's cold. Wait, it's not,
no.
It gets cold, but it's not like how Lake Superior is always fucking like 35 degrees or some shit.
Correct.
Yeah. You
Much
can still
different
swim
climes.
in it.
It's at a higher altitude, but it's in the desert.
It's in a warmer region.
So like I mentioned, Lake Tahoe is unique because of its size. It is so big that at the widest point, which is over 100 miles, you can't see the other side, but you can see the curvature of the earth on its surface. It's she big.
Yeah.
That being said, if the air temperature is way higher than the water temperature, like if the water is really cold and the air is much warmer, the light refraction can occur, which can result in fata morgana, which is a mirage, like an optical illusion created at the horizon line that looks like towers. It looks like vertical.
Whoa.
So these may be responsible for the Tahoe Tessie sightings.
It's like their Loch Ness monster.
Yes, and I just don't care about that kind of thing.
The exasperation in your voice. Do not talk to Lucy about a cryptid.
I
Fucking
just don't
not.
care. I just don't. They're so out there.
Listen.
They're not real. Except that weird bird that was in Iowa. That was a weird one.
Bigfoot is real, and I don't care who tries to fight me on it.
I mean, at Tahoe Tessie, can we be a little more trite? It's just stupid. It's on like a bunch of their merch. Grow up.
Just not all that righteous indignation for Tahoe Tessie.
Sea monsters.
Not your thing.
I was really into them in 3rd grade. For a full year, I was really into them. I checked out old books from the library, like ones that didn't even have pictures about sea monsters.
Well, that's absurd.
Yeah, I had a hard phase. And you know what? I was 8.
Yeah, you're past it now.
I'm very much past it. Okay. We'll get to the creatures that I prefer,
Okay.
that we attribute these Fata Morgana sightings to. So Fata Morgana is the translation of Morgan the Fairy in Italian. And so that's from the King Arthur legend of Morgan Le Fay.
Okay.
And so these optical illusions were named such by sailors in the Strait of Messina, where these mirages were described as fairy castles or false land created by Morgan's magic.
Weird. Mirages are nuts to behold.
Especially when you're in the middle of the ocean and you think you see like land. And like a towering, glittering city.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
in the
weird.
middle of something that is so big that it feels like an ocean, at least in this case.
Yeah. Well, the phrase Fata Morgana
Comes
came
from ocean travel.
Italian explorers. So when I thought of Lake Tahoe, I got it confused with Lake Como.
Which, that's Italy, right?
Wait, which one am I thinking of? Lake...
Havasu.
Well, I thought of... Yes, Lake Havasu.
From
I thought
Vanderpump
of
Rules.
Real Housewives. I thought of Real Housewives.
They
So
go
Googling-
to Lake Tahoe and Housewives for sure. But I know VPR went to Havasu. It's like they can't afford Tahoe.
Orange County went to Havasu too, because I feel like the Gundolfsons had a lake house there.
Probably.
So upon Googling, it was the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, season 11, episode 2. They rented a house. Rinna rented a house. At the time, it was $8,000 per night. It's 17,000 square feet. It has 17 bedrooms and 18 bathrooms.
Okay.
It can host up to 40 people.
Like sleeping comfortably, like with a partner in a comfortable sleeping arrangement.
It has bed space for 40 people.
Yeah.
And there were 7 ladies, maybe 8.
And the crew.
Well, yeah, and also like, of course, they're going to be extra anyway. But this is where the 2 Truths and a Lie episode takes place, in which Kathy Hilton doesn't understand the basic rules of 2 truths and a lie.
It's a very complex game.
And then Erica wants everyone to think that she's super mysterious, and she just is so vapid. I can't even stand it.
I know. What a monster.
So this house has a Himalayan salt cave, an indoor swimming pool, a secret tunnel to the lake and the pier,
My God.
and its own hair and nail salon.
In the house?
Yeah.
This is one of those properties where it's like rich people built this as a house so it could be like zoned that way or homesteaded or what. It's got to be some sort of tax thing, but it's definitely a commercial property that they built to rent out for like weddings, large private events.
Yes.
And no one was ever going to live there.
It was built by Mr. Hara of Hara's casino empire.
That'll do it.
Yep.
That'll do it.
That fits just right.
Yep. Hey, do what you got to do.
So Ben found it on Vrbo. It is now $12,000 a night,
Ew.
but you can rent it.
Well, one could. I absolutely cannot.
I also found I saw on Instagram, the house in White Lotus where Greg/Gary lives with Chloe is on Airbnb for $13,000 a night.
Jesus. Okay, let me do the math on how many people I would have to split that with to be able to afford it.
You could split it with 40 full people.
Well, but that doesn't. It's $1,200 a night, $12,000 a night.
Yes.
$12,000 a night divided by 40 is still on the high end of my price range.
How much a night?
$300.
I also don't know 40 people I'd want to hang out with for a whole night.
I mean, fair. Not that you see many of them because it seems like the place is so fucking big, it'd be pretty easy to avoid people.
Yeah. You could pretty much all have your own bathroom.
If I'm spending $300, I want a couple, and splitting like everything with all of my friends, I want a couple nights out of it, not one night.
Yeah, it's still $1,000 basically living in a frat house.
Yeah.
A really nice frat house.
The world's nicest frat house. No, thanks. Next.
I'd rather split it with fewer people, but I couldn't afford that if I won the lottery. I think I would maximum 12 people.
Yeah.
Even in a 17,000 square foot house.
Yeah, no. It's too big. I don't like it.
Pull a Denise and get a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. Lake Tahoe is fed by 67 tributaries, so like little streams that come down from the mountains, but not like full substantial rivers. So those give it about half of its water, and the rest is from precipitation.
Cool.
There's only one outlet, which is the Truckee River, which flows north through Reno, up past Reno about 15 miles to Pyramid Lake.
Interesting.
Pyramid Lake, remember when we were at the convention in Albuquerque and we were talking to that guy? That's right, when my gummy kicked in.
When he saw
and we were talking about UFOs.
Is that where he saw the UFO?
Yeah.
No way.
That's why I started Googling Pyramid Lake. There's a bunch of weird UFO stuff, but there's also what I'm about to talk about.
All right.
So Pyramid Lake is just too fun not to give a brief moment to before we head back south to Lake Tahoe. So Pyramid Lake is on the Paiute Reservation, and Paiute folklore says that the lake was formed from the tears of the Stone Mother, probably from all the mountains. Some other tribe legends include water babies.
Ooh.
So these are babies that were born prematurely or that were born with disabilities, and they were taken to the lake to drown.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It is, but that wasn't uncommon back when we didn't have civilizations large enough to really have the means and resources to take care of.
Of course. I get it. It's just fucking tragic.
It is, but that is a real part of what probably every civilization around the world has gone through at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of death is a lot quicker and much more merciful than the inevitable death that also comes with draining a bunch of resources from your community. You know?
I'm not my place to say.
If you were in this position, obviously there is no fucking reason for this kind of practice nowadays.
No.
Not saying that. Okay. Yes, a very sad thing, a very sad fact of life. Also, this is legend, so I'm not even trying to say that they really did do this, but
yeah,
I know that some
for sure. This absolutely happened across cultures and communities in like the early times of man. This was survival at its most brutal.
Yeah. So it is said that these babies never left the lake and their spirits still live there, and they call out to fishermen to lure them into the water where the fishermen drown.
Yeah, get their revenge. Get your revenge, water babies.
But water babies is such a sweet name. It's like, no, they're like creepy baby sirens.
Yeah, and I'm living for it.
Yeah. Every spring, there are reports of babies crying on the shore of the lake.
Whoa, that gave me a chill.
Also, springtime is when most of the drownings occur.
Oh, dear.
There's also a legend of a singular spurned mermaid. One mermaid.
She was so annoying about it that no other mermaids even wanted to live in the same lake.
Pretty much.
I'm obsessed.
Well, so the story goes that she, the mermaid, was dating a tribesman.
Mm-hmm.
The family of the tribesman did not accept their love and ordered him to return the mermaid to the lake. She is not allowed here. No mermaids allowed. The mermaid was pissed off, and so she cursed the lake and everyone around it.
Good for her.
So that's why there are, again, so many drownings and mysterious disappearances associated with Lake Tahoe.
Good for her.
Right. I'll say it again.
And I will say it forever.
So, like I said, these mysterious drownings, but perhaps even more mysterious, the discoveries of the drowned victims.
Okay.
So remember when I said, well, okay, so Pyramid Lake is not nearly as deep as Lake Tahoe. It gets up to about 350 feet deep, but it also has like really steep drop-offs, and it has like currents. And because so I think I understood this correctly, but my interpretation of this was because of the altitude of the lake, divers can only go about 90 feet deep. And I think this is because of like the air pressure in their tanks and all that stuff, because they have to factor in how far above sea level they are.
Oh, that's so interesting and scary.
So they can only go about 90 feet out of the 350 feet deep that the lake is.
Okay. So they can't even see what is all the way down there in real time. They'd have to send down some sort of device. Well,
yeah, but also like if they weren't really paying attention, they weren't really aware of how deep they were, all of a sudden they can't get back up. So divers sometimes go missing, but the weirdest part is that some people, remember how I said that Pyramid Lake, so Lake Tahoe feeds into Truckee Lake, which flows into Pyramid Lake. Sometimes people who have drowned in Pyramid Lake end up being found in Lake Tahoe, which
like
means
their remains made it reverse
upriver.
Weird.
Which means that the river must have like flowed backwards somehow, or it was an army of underwater babies, or a singular pissed off mermaid.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
Isn't that gross?
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
It's weird. It's a weird place.
That really creeps me out. That really fucking creeps me out. That's one of the creepiest things I've heard in a long time. And you're my best friend, so that's saying a lot. The fuck?
And like, it wasn't just one. It's been like several. And also like stories of people. It's not just a one-off.
No. Next. Absolutely not.
All right. So we're going back upriver to Lake Tahoe, like those bodies. So it is a conifer forest around the lake. So conifer meaning like pines. We've got the Pinus Jeffrey, the Jeffrey pine.
Jeffrey Penis.
The P. contorta, the lodgepole pine. And the P. lambertiana. I don't know why I'm putting an accent on it, but
why not?
P. lambertiana. I'm back in Italy. Or the sugar pine.
But not the dusty pea.
No dusty pea.
Okay.
Only P. contorta.
Just trying to figure out why Dustin would pick this episode if there's no dusty pine.
I don't remember why they picked this episode. I'll go back in the email on our next break.
Great.
Figure that out. So Lake Tahoe is also the only known habitat for the ultra-rare Roripa sabumbalata, a.k.a. the Lake Tahoe yellow cress.
It's a bird?
It's a plant.
A plant?
She's real cute, too. I have a picture of it on the drive.
Okay.
Little
I'll buy it.
little yellow. It looks like
Oh, that's pretty. It's like a fern meets a succulent with a little yellow bud
little
on it.
yellow blossoms.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like a succulent fern.
It's really
So-
cool.
This only grows between the low water mark and the high water mark on the shores of Lake Tahoe.
Wow.
And
How
it's-
weird.
And it's only been observed a few dozen times.
So it's extremely rare, a plant.
It's extremely rare.
Wow. That's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. She's part of the mustard family.
Can you
Colonel
imagine
Mustard. Niece
horticultural
of Colonel Mustard. What?
horticulturists must just lose their shit if they ever see this fucker in real life.
Yeah. Between low water and high water. So
Yeah.
you'd have to even I
Right
don't
time
know,
of year.
time it right.
Right time. Yeah. Like, oh, that's so bizarre.
Yeah. Lake Tahoe's
Fascinating.
bizarre.
Well, these massive lake ecosystems are so fucking cool and weird.
And now we're way into it after having Geo on our
Oh,
that
yeah.
episode of GAC.
Truly. I bet there's so much Spooky Lakes Month Tahoe content.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
Yeah. Follow Spooky Lakes Month. Geosaurus on TikTok.
Who was
You won't be
named
sorry.
because her mom is like a geologist, scientist, which cracks me up. I'm obsessed. Geo.
Okay, so I have some folklore, like an origin story, some name origin story for you.
Okay.
This is from a 1905 edition of Sunset Magazine in which a member of the Washoe tribe recounts the naming of the lake.
Okay.
So in their stories, they had the Ong, O-N-G,
Mm-hmm.
and this was like a really, really fucking big bird.
Oh,
It was described as bigger than the house of the white man.
good.
Its body was like an eagle's and its wings were longer than the tallest pines.
Wow.
It also said like as it flew by, like trees would like bend in the wind that the wings made.
Damn.
Quote, their words, not mine. Its face was that of an Indian, but covered with hard scales, and its feet were webbed.
Mm.
So because it was scaled, it like couldn't, their weapons didn't work against it.
Oh,
It
cool.
was like this big bird that they couldn't, obviously this was like mythology. But
I've been playing Monster Hunter recently, and
nice.
I am imagining some adversaries that I have had to defeat that were quite challenging. Some monstrous adversaries.
Oh,
Monster Hunter is a very hard game. You would hate it. You would hate it so much. You would want nothing to do with it.
I already don't.
I won't even play it by myself. It's not like it's scary. It's just genuinely challenging combat. So like it's the only game that I'm like using my headset, like getting on with my friend Aaron, and I'm like, meet me at this rally point because I have to defeat this monster and I need your help because I'm a little pussy and I can't do it myself. We talk on our little mic.
Ew, what was that gross way you talk to each other?
Oh no, we just like to make the same sound effect as Link from Ocarina of Time when he's like fighting something. He just goes like,
Oh, right.
So I'll be over at Robbie's and like want something from Aaron from another room and just be like, Robbie hates it.
I hate it. Ew, gross.
Yeah, I know.
Why'd you go down an octave for the last one?
Oh, that was him and I was the other. Yeah, that was him responding.
Sick. I'm never talking to Aaron ever again.
I mean, that might be out of your control, depending
Okay,
on what voice memos I send you later this week.
Ew. Don't make me get perverted revenge. Okay, back to the Ong. So its nest was in the middle of the lake. In my mind, it's floating in the middle of the lake.
Right.
So the waters of the lake come out from the nest because they knew that there were no real rivers feeding it. They just had those mountain streams. Like, well, this water has to come from somewhere. It's coming from Ong's nest in the middle of the lake. So the Ong would make the waters rush out and then flow back to the nest, which I think is like alluding to the currents of the lake, where the nest would siphon out the food for the Ong. So like fish. It would splash around the water and it would use the nest as a sieve to get its food from the lake. But the Ong's favorite was human flesh. Despite this, he was described as a coward, even though he was really big and powerful. So they were like,
scare easy.
They do. So they said he wouldn't ever attack 2 or more people in a group. So basically they were like, don't ever go out by yourself. Don't ever go out on a boat by yourself.
No.
Stay
Words to live by.
Buddy system. So one day the chief of the tribe had to choose a husband for his daughter, Nona, before leaving the lake for the winter. In the hills above, a young man named Tahoe had been meditating and praying since he had no acts of valor to recommend him as husband to the chief's daughter. So he had a crush on the chief's daughter. He basically had nothing on his resume.
Yep.
And was like, okay, I have to do something
praying for
really
my big break. Yeah.
So as he's looking out over the lake, who shows up but Ong?
Oh, no.
Young Tahoe gets the Ong's attention like, hey, over here. Ong snatches him up, and Ong was going to fly up really high and then drop him into the nest waters so he could come down and eat him. But the young man, Tahoe, brought a long buckskin rope with him and tied the Ong's legs together and then tied himself to the other end so that when Ong tried to drop him, he couldn't do it. They were tied together.
Love it.
There's a struggle, and then they both careen into the lake. The rest of the tribe, while, upset about the loss of the young man, well, what are you going to do? They continue the council to select a husband for Nona. Nona's like, but I actually really liked him.
Yeah, that's my boy.
So she sneaks off, takes a canoe out into the lake, saying, Tahoe, my darling Tahoe, as she searches for the man she loves. The next morning, okay, so I pictured this as like the end of Moana.
Okay.
What I think the legend says is the 2 lovers arrive back on shore, riding on one of Ong's wings while the other wing is being used as a sail.
Oh, damn. They made a boat out of that bird.
They made a fucking sailboat out of Ong's remains.
Sick.
And they just drift up on shore.
Yes.
Tahoe was decided that he was a worthy husband for Nona, but as long as Ong's nest remains in the lake, the drowned never rise in Lake Tahoe.
So is there something in the center of the lake?
No.
To this day?
It's just saying like as long as Ong's nest is still there, then the lake will never give up its dead.
The current.
But really, in actuality, the waters in the lake are cold enough that an almost perfectly preserved body of one of said divers was found at a depth of 300 feet, 17 years after they went missing.
Damn. Pretty preserved.
So I think it's kind of like Lake Superior, where it's so cold at a certain depth that you're not going anywhere. You're down there.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Nope.
So Lake Tahoe, fascinating. I definitely want to go there someday.
Yeah. But I'll be staying on shore. I'll dip my feet in.
Don't go anywhere by yourself. You'll get snatched up.
That's fair. I'll swim to the extent that, like, I can still touch. Kind of like how I respect the ocean. I'll go swimming in the ocean, but not, like, open water. I'm not jumping off a boat.
No.
Into Lake Tahoe or an ocean. I wouldn't jump off a boat into Lake Superior.
I mean, I get freaked out jumping off a boat in Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah.
The water's just a little too dark. It's a little too... I feel like I'm jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
If you think about it too hard, it's not great. Okay, so I do have a case for us today.
Okay.
It is tied to Lake Tahoe, but not really till the end. But this is the story of the I-5 Strangler.
Ooh, yuck.
And a lot of this is from Bruce Henderson's book called Trace Evidence, The Hunt for an Elusive Serial Killer.
Okay, drama.
Okay, give away the ending. Roger Reese Kibbe was born on May 21st, 1939, a Gemini, in San Diego County, California. Not a lot known about his upbringing, just I think because it was, the 40s. But his mother allegedly was abusive, and at school he was bullied for his stutter. As a teenager, he was arrested for petty theft and prowling. He was observed stealing women's bathing suits and stockings.
Ugh. Not loving this so far.
He's a creepy motherfucker. Henderson claims in the book that Kibbe enjoyed tying himself up with women's underwear and cutting the clothes up with scissors. There was something about cutting the women's clothes with scissors.
And what age were these behaviors?
Teenager.
Yeah, okay. I mean, not that like I'm a big fan of that in general.
No. A specific incident was when he was, I think, 15.
But yeah, when you're really, there's a difference obviously between these behaviors when you're very young and these behaviors as like a consenting adult in a, trusted relation with another consenting adult. Like,
I don't care when you cut up women's clothes, as long as that's like the extent and everyone is consenting. It never escalates to anything worse, which it definitely does. Yeah.
But this is...
Yeah.
This is going somewhere scary. I don't like it.
Okay, so cutting up the clothes with scissors. One source said that his criminal record had a note in it. This is when he was 15, about being caught trying to bury a box filled with stolen, cut up women's clothing.
Yikes. All right. Cool.
As an adult, he sold furniture as a job, and in his free time, he enjoyed skydiving.
What?
Which I thought was so random for an activity in the 60s and 70s, but it is important. We will get back to the skydiving.
Not at all what I thought you were gonna list as a hobby.
It's like another Mad Lib case.
Seriously.
While trying to distribute cheeseburgers to the homeless.
I don't think that episode will have come out yet by the time this episode comes out.
Spoiler.
That's in the April gag.
Teaser. Well, it was yesterday to me, so.
Literally, we recorded it yesterday, so it is easy to get confused.
Yeah. Okay, so he settled down and married a woman named Harriet, who was allegedly very domineering, according, again, to Henderson's book. But also same. Don't marry me if you're
Don't marry me if you're going to wreck all my underwear.
Right. I'm going to be domineering if I have shapes cut out of my bras and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm going to be pissed.
Very domineering. That was the only description of his wife that I could find.
So rude.
So rude. A newspaper in Stockton also reported that his brother was a homicide detective. So in hindsight, this led people to speculate that it's possible that he talked to his brother, asked his brother a lot of questions about police procedures, and in particular evidence collection in order to learn how to cover his tracks. Okay. The activities last from 1977 to 1986 or 87, about a decade, but that particular decade. So think of that when we're talking about the evidence.
Okay.
What he might have learned about the evidence collection. Okay. Jumping forward to September of 1977. Best of My Love by The Emotions is at the top of the charts. You got the best of my love.
You got the best of my love. Whoa,
along with the Star Wars theme song.
Oh, hell yeah.
77.
What a year.
My parents graduated high school in 76.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my parents were definitely in college.
But yeah, that would be such a fun year. The summer of 77.
They might have been out of college by 77. Because they waited a while before having my sister, and then 5 years later, they finally got everything they wanted and had me.
I finally hit the jackpot.
They finally hit the jackpot after slogging through 5 years alone with that nightmare. Just kidding. We love you. You're the better of the two. Trust me.
I second that.
Trust me.
Ashley, can we talk more?
Okay. Okay.
Remember when we watched the Vanderpump reunion after Scandal?
On Zoom
the three of
together?
us on Zoom.
That was a good time.
That was really fun.
You can talk to her whenever you want. I'm sure she'd love it.
Probably. Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
Apparently, Kibbe was bored at this time back in September 77 and
No
decides,
skydiving trips?
I get that wasn't fulfilling him anymore. He decided to place a fake ad in a newspaper, like an employment ad, like looking for an like a job ad.
Right.
In order to find a victim to assault. 21-year-old Lou Ellen Burley answered the ad. Kibbe said that my office is under construction. Why don't we meet in my van?
Absolutely not.
What she did. He then drove her to Lake Berryessa in Napa County, where he raped and strangled her before dumping her body in a nearby riverbed.
No.
When Lou Ellen was reported missing, Kibbe was briefly considered a suspect, according to the LA Times. But alas, Lou Ellen would not be found for another 30 years. 30 plus.
So sad.
On April 21st, 1986, so this is almost a decade later. This is like 11 and a half years later.
Okay.
A woman named Laura Hedick. One article said Lori, but more of them said Laura.
Okay.
She was also 21 years old. She was seen getting into the car of a man in his 50s, and she was never seen again. So Laura would sometimes engage in sex work due to her addiction issues. Mm-hmm. Of course, that doesn't describe her as a full individual person.
Right. Of course not.
But again, I don't have a lot of information here, especially about the women in this case.
Mm-hmm.
In September of that year, so that's like 5 or 6 months later, her remains were found off of I-5, which was southeast of Sacramento. She had also been raped. Investigators noted odd shapes were cut out of her tank top before it was used to strangle her. So he cut up her shirt and then killed her with it.
The pattern.
Mm-hmm. Laura's boyfriend at the time saw the man who picked her up and described him to the cops so they could make a composite sketch.
Okay.
So they have a composite sketch. So like I said, that was April 1986. After that, things really begin to escalate, like very quickly, considering it was almost 10 years between his first known victim and this second known. So that same year, 1986, in July, so this would be before Laura's body was discovered,
Mm-hmm.
Kibbe abducts Barbara Ann Scott, age 29, before killing her and dumping her body along a stretch of road in Contra Costa County.
Fuck.
That was on July 3rd. On July 15th, 19-year-old Stephanie Brown was abducted. Her car was found abandoned on I-5, and her body was found in a drainage ditch. Like the other victims, she had also been raped and strangled. The NBC Sacramento affiliate said that portions of her hair had been cut with scissors.
Oh, so this isn't like hair that had been like grabbed maybe in a struggle. This was like taking as a memento, cut.
It was cut.
Intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
1 month later, on October 17th, Charmaine Sabra, age 26, this is so gross, was driving home with her mother when their car broke down along I-5. Surprise, surprise. What do you know? A good Samaritan stops by to help. But oh no, he can only take one person in his car into town.
No.
Charmaine's remains were not discovered for 3 months.
Oh, God.
Her body showed signs of sexual abuse, strangulation, and both her clothing and her hair had portions cut away with scissors. So obviously now people are worried there's a serial killer on the loose because they just have a string of bodies. Then they were all found along I-5.
Mm-hmm.
The police began to utilize undercover female officers to pose as broken down motorists. Witness statements described the suspect as a middle-aged man with a big nose. So that kind of went into the composite sketch. During this dragnet operation, Kibbe actually did get stopped on a routine traffic violation.
But they didn't put it together. They didn't clock it as him.
The cops were surprised at how much he looked like the composite sketch. So I have a picture of the composite sketch and his mugshot.
Oh my God, this is so funny because I also have a side-by-side composite and mugshot in my case. It's not the same case, but there are similarities.
Do you see it? The jawline, the lips, the nose.
That's shocking.
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they missed his mole in the composite, but otherwise...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who else were the witnesses except for the boyfriend of Laura.
Okay.
And I think she got into his car at night.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so she might not have seen it.
Yeah, it's like if they didn't meet like face to face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah,
but considering how little they had to go on from a singular witness testimony to make this composite, it's very good.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Charmaine's mother also would have been able to give, because she was with Charmaine when the car broke down and Charmaine went with
so
Kibbe.
she would have seen him.
Yeah. But okay, so different sources said different things. So either the cops saw him, looked at the composite sketch and was like, oh shit, and he was driving a similar car that matched the witness statements.
Okay.
Either they just photographed his car and sent him on his way, or they searched his car at this point where they found nylon parachute cord.
Oh, the skydiving.
Mm-hmm. Scissors and handcuffs.
Oh, it's not looking good for you, Kibbe.
Either way, he was questioned but released without charges being filed because they just did not have sufficient evidence, whether they had just photographed the car or if they searched the car at this time or in the next incident.
I mean, I guess, but I hate that.
Before the end of 1986, Kibbe would kill another woman named Catherine Kelly Quinones, aged 25. Finally, in September of 1987, he was arrested after he tried to abduct a sex worker in downtown Sacramento. So this badass fought back when he was trying to handcuff her and just screamed.
Good for her.
And a cop intervened, heard her screaming. And after taking him into custody, they impounded his car and they found evidence which linked him to the I-5 killings. So whether they searched his car earlier when they stopped him for that traffic stop, or they didn't search it till they impounded his car now.
They eventually found
evidence.
Damn.
And since they wanted time to gather all the evidence, because they were like, oh my God, if this guy is responsible for these 5 or 6 other homicides, we need time to get all the evidence and build all the cases.
Sure.
So in the meantime, they were able to get him for battery and solicitation for trying to abduct the woman in Sacramento, which put him behind bars for 8 months while they could continue their investigation.
Damn.
He was first brought to trial for the murder of 17-year-old Darcy Frackenpole. So she was a runaway whose body had been found in 1987 near Lake Tahoe, where Kibbe's brother, the homicide investigator, lived.
Wait.
So that's the connection to Lake Tahoe. It's kind of tenuous. I'm sorry.
Wait, did I miss that Kibbe's brother was investigating?
I don't think he was investigating this case, but he was a homicide investigator.
Jesus.
Because that's when we said, well, in hindsight, some people think that he was able to ask his brother about evidence collection.
Okay.
And that's why it took them so long to get him.
Yep. That is a very reasonable speculation. Not all of our speculations are reasonable, But like,
well, we'll kind of get we'll get to it a little bit more.
fuck, okay.
So Darcy had been strangled using that same type of cord that Kibbe had been using for skydiving, the parachute cord. The fibers of which were also linked to 3 other killings. So he used the exact same cord.
Oh.
Parachute cord.
Oh, God.
He had a literal murder kit containing handcuffs and a pair of his mother's scissors. His abusive mother's scissors. That's what he was using.
See what happens
to cut
when you
shit up.
don't heal from your trauma?
It kind of reminded me of you when you stole your mom's sewing scissors.
Yeah, but I stole them because they were cute and their handles were like little goose. It was like a little goose.
Oh, I know.
And I wanted to try cutting my own bangs. And it was a disaster.
As long as you're not cutting anyone
And
else's bangs.
I was 5.
I know. His mother's
You
scissors.
kind of remind me of this serial killer who used his mom's
I didn't
scissors.
say you reminded me. I don't think I said that. I meant to say this reminds me.
You remind
of
me
you.
of a girl that I once knew. Anyway.
In 1991, Kibbe is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 25 to life. Everyone is certain that he's the I-5 Strangler at this point, but apparently there were like jurisdictional complications and like a lack of hard evidence, and it just took a while. He also like wasn't really talking. It took him a while to like say anything about where these victims were.
Okay.
So here is the grossest part, according to me. The prosecutors alleged that Kibbe would handcuff his victims to abduct them. He'd wrap duct tape all the way around their head and their mouth to silence them.
Oh, my God.
Then he would do whatever he did, assault them, cut their clothes, use his parachute cord to strangle them. Sometimes he turned it into a garrote.
Oh, God.
And then he would use the scissors to cut the tape off of their hair so he wasn't leaving any tape behind. Tape evidence. Because they could get fingerprints off of tape.
Oh, he was thinking more about the fingerprints than the
evidence,
actual, like...
the homicide investigator brother.
Oh, my... Yeah. Wait, what the fuck?
I think that he knew that they could get fingerprints off of things like duct tape. So instead of just ripping...
He
used the scissors to get the tape off of the girl's head.
Totally. So the cut hair wasn't even a memento. It was just something that happened when he was cutting the tape off as part of his MO.
It could have been both, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because
Isn't that fucking gross?
That's so gross. It's all gross. But like, I assumed you meant that like locks of hair were cut, but that like the hair as a whole wasn't necessarily super disturbed. But yeah, if you're wrapping the whole, there's probably a lot of hair that was cut.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Because none of the articles said like, you know, like a lock of her, you know, like a chunk of her hair was cut out. It just said her hair had been cut with scissors.
Yep. Oh.
Isn't that nasty?
I hate it.
Ugh. Okay, so he's sitting in jail at this point. Finally, in the 2000s, we get the technology to analyze DNA evidence. Because remember, I think all of these women were sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
In 2008, Kibbe was indicted on 6 counts of murder and multiple special circumstances, meaning there was evidence of him doing something extra fucked up that would like amp up the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pile on those charges, bitch.
So he got 1 special circumstance for each victim, which made him eligible for the death penalty. On September 29th, 2009, he pled guilty to the rape and murders of Llewellyn Burley, Laura Hedick, Barbara Ann Scott, Stephanie Brown, Charmaine Smith, and Catherine Kelly Quinones.
Damn.
This plea, as well as agreeing to lead investigators to his first victim, Llewellyn, was enough to keep the death penalty off the table. Mm-hmm. So he did bring them to it was like a site near like a river.
Yeah, he just to save his own ass from the death penalty. But yeah.
But they didn't find anything. And then like 2 years later, they brought him back there. They again didn't find anything. 2 years after that, an investigator went back to that site by himself and ended up finding a bone that belonged to her.
Damn.
So she really was where he said she was,
Right.
but
It
they
just
just
been
didn't
so
find
long.
her. They just didn't find her those 2 times where Kibbe was with the investigators. It was another person who went, like, you know, off the clock or whatever.
Yeah, and when you think about it, her remains had been out there for so long. Animals, the elements, like,
Because that was in 77.
yeah,
And this was in 2011.
it's not-
I'm not about to do that math.
it's
but
not
a long time.
unbelievable to think that he would give the right location, but that they wouldn't find anything there for a long time. I'm glad
Yep.
that they eventually fucking did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, these poor women.
Here's the best part. In March of 2021, Kibbe was found unresponsive in his jail cell.
Bye.
Medical staff immediately responded. He was transported to the prison's healthcare facility, and despite life-saving measures, he was pronounced dead at 1:20 a.m. An investigation led to his cellmate, Jason Boudreaux, himself a convicted killer and a Satanist. Not that matters. And he was charged with murder in Kibbe's death. Guess how he killed him?
Well, they were cellmates, so they probably didn't have a whole lot of access to stuff, but I'm going to lean into
His murder
irony
name.
and say he tore up parts of his clothes or something and choked him.
Well, he strangled him to death.
Okay.
But given the fact that he was called the I-5 Strangler,
Mm-hmm.
and he killed at least
What,
7
six,
women,
seven
6 or
women?
7 women
Yeah.
by strangling them.
You know, seems like not that I
fitting.
condone, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Seems like a fitting end for this fucking asshole.
It's fucking fitting. All right, that's the I-5 Strangler.
Damn, what
And
a
a little
turd.
bit about Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe. I want to go real bad.
I do too. I want to go to Pyramid Lake.
Well, let's take a break to hear a word from our sponsors, the sponsors that we need so that one day we can go to Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. Also, join us on Uncorked. That would also help us get there. Shopping can be a nightmare. The lighting in those dressing rooms is a targeted attack. It's a paid actor, and
Offensive.
And it's offensive, and I want her fired. I want her offset immediately. And this is why I am so in love with Stitch Fix online personal styling. It makes it so easy.
Shopping and figuring out your style is overwhelming. It just is. And when I panic, if I'm at the store, I just go to all the black items. My
Yep.
whole closet is black.
Yep.
And I'm trying to really branch out like very intentionally this year. And look, I'm wearing gray right now.
Obsessed.
I just need more color. And I told my stylist this, and they're sending me the cutest stuff that's still like kind of boxy and shapeless the way that I like my clothes, but it's like fun patterns, new styles. When it comes to getting dressed, I get these pieces from my stylist. They make me look great. It's a real confidence boost. So I just give my stylist my size, my style, my budget preferences, and I can order boxes when I want and how I want with no subscription required. And then she just sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I really love the little pamphlet that comes with it.
I do too. It's so helpful and cute.
I know, even if it's like, yeah, dummy, you wear this with a pair of jeans and some loafers and a cute little bag. It's like, genius.
Genius.
It's just really fun to look at. And it just feels so individual to me. I keep what I love. I send back the rest. It could not be easier. My stylist sends personalized pieces and the fit is flawless. I know I've said this before. The only jeans I wear,
Same.
2 pairs, both from Stitch Fix. I'll never go back.
I have like 6 pairs of Stitch Fix jeans now. And yeah, same. Never go back. Never go back.
I don't know how they do it, but
It's
they
magic.
do it. It's like having my own personal style support person, emotional support stylist. So no stores, no crowds, no stress, just personalized looks you're going to love. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy.
Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/wineandcrime. That's stitchfix.com/wineandcrime. This episode of Wine and Crime is brought to you by Graza, my new favorite olive oil. It's fresh, it's never blended, and it comes from a single type of olive, the Picual, straight out of high-end Spain, where over half of the world's olive oil is produced.
Listen, high-end is high-end because this olive oil is like the best in the world. It is just single origin goodness. It's made with only one olive from one region. There's no like mystery blends. That means a traceable, fresher product without mixing in any like lower grade or mystery oils. It's pure, people.
Yeah.
No more messy tins or drippy spouts. Just aim that cute little squeeze bottle and spray it right in your hot pan and go from there. The trio has 3 types of olive oil for any task. They have the Frizzle, which is their newest one. It has a higher smoke point of 490 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is perfect for like frying, crisping, or grilling.
Yes.
If you are the type to set off your smoke alarm in the kitchen with regularity.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, I am speaking to you. I see you. The Frizzle might just be exactly what you need. It's not going to like,
is.
it's not going to
We
like
switched.
blow up your whole spot.
Yeah, concerns from the neighbors have decreased considerably since switching to Frizzle to cook.
I should get my neighbors this trio because
You should.
their smoke alarm goes off kind of a lot when they're
Yeah.
cooking. And I always text. I've just said,
King,
last
are
time
you
I just
good?
said, making a roast? They also have their sizzle oil. So this has a 410 degree smoke point. So this is your everyday cooking oil for roasting, marinating, and sauteing. And then perhaps my favorite, the drizzle. It's this bold, punchy finishing oil you can sprinkle on salads. You can put it on ice cream, dip your bread in it. This is like your table olive oil.
Yup.
That's just absolutely delicious. So you get 10% on your first order on Graza's site, but I personally suggest grabbing that trio that I told you about. That's all 3 squeezy bottles. You got your sizzle, your frizzle, and your drizzle. So you are set for every style of cooking.
So head to graza.co and use code GALS to get 10% off Trio, which includes sizzle, frizzle, and drizzle, and get cooking your next chef quality meal.
A good book is great, but what if you had an endless library of delicious romance at your fingertips? With Galatea, you don't just read, you get swept away in every stolen glance and every heart-pounding touch you just can't stop thinking about. Whatever kind of love story you crave, you'll find it on Galatea.
Galatea is a reading app where anyone craving a little me time can dive into a library of romance stories that leave you feeling recharged and fulfilled. There are over 1,000 bestsellers to choose, from shifter romance to bad boy billionaires, forbidden love, werewolf alphas, slow burn fantasy, teen drama, and much, much more. Galatea is home to original series and standalone stories with an exclusive catalog of best-selling authors, with new chapters dropping daily, babes. So there is always something new to explore. If you are like ravenous for the literature, Galatea is your girl. She's your gal. Over 30 million people have fallen in love with reading on Galatea, so join now to indulge in stories that make you feel like yourself again.
Right now, Galatea is offering our listeners an extra 25% off on top of an already irresistibly affordable subscription when you go to galatea.com/gals. That's GALATEA.com/gals to indulge in unlimited stories for even less. Galatea.com/gals.
My case is also really sad, and there are a lot of similarities, and it's from the 70s. It's not the same, but it's kind of crazy.
Great. It's kind of great. Too.
How that panned out. Today, I'm going to be taking you back to 1970s Lake Tahoe and the story of the brutal murders of 2 young women, Bryn Rainey and Carol Anderson.
Oh.
For decades, their families lived with unanswered questions, and their cases were just getting colder and colder with each passing year. There was definitely long stretches of time when these families likely assumed that they would never know exactly what happened to their children.
So they knew they were dead. They were found dead, but they
Yes.
didn't know what happened.
Correct. Our first story begins in the summer of 1977. Bryn Rainey, a 27-year-old originally from Ohio, had recently moved to South Lake Tahoe after falling in love with the area while attending a family wedding there. How cute is that?
Cute. She just loved it.
Just loved it. Drawn to the beauty of the lake, she took a job in that area as a Keno runner at the Sahara Tahoe Casino in State Line, Nevada. And Keno is a lottery game that I guess it's kind of like a card game, but also kind of like bingo. I could not for the life of me figure it out. So if you want to know more about that game, I am not the one. Okay. Listeners?
I think I get it confused with Plinko.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little card, and then there's like,
you can play it on like the big video screen.
Yeah. I couldn't figure it out, and I lost interest in trying to understand it. I'm sorry, but she was into it, and she worked at the casino, like running Keno.
Okay.
On the evening of July 23rd, 1977, Bryn had some spare time before her 2 a.m. shift, because the casino's open 24 hours, so people are on shifts that wouldn't seem normal to us, but that's normal for her.
I can't imagine starting work at 2 a.m.
Girl, my body could never, but like, good for her.
Good for her.
So she probably just was like, all right, well, I'm awake. I don't work till 2 a.m. I'm going to go grab a drink at the Bitter Creek Saloon before work. The bartender later recalled seeing her that night and noted that no one seemed to bother her. No one even saw her leave. Like, she was there. She kept to herself. She had a drink or two. And then she seemingly just left of her own accord. We didn't see anybody specifically with her or like trying to lure her out or harassing her or anything like that.
Seems like a good thing.
It's a very good thing. But then Bryn didn't show up for that 2 a.m. shift. And her coworkers were the first to notice her absence because she was like always on time, such a good employee. And fortunately, they tried to get in touch with her and couldn't, and cared enough to call the police and have like a wellness check done on her apartment. When authorities checked her apartment on Emerald Bay Road in South Lake Tahoe, they found the apartment empty and nothing disturbed. It was like Bryn had just vanished into thin air. They filed...
Or like left for work.
Or left, yeah, but like left for work but never made it to work, had been seen, clearly had been at her apartment at some point, but it was perfectly clean.
Didn't pack anything.
Last place anybody else saw her was at the bar, and there was nothing weird that happened at the bar. She quietly had a drink and then she left, and then poof, she's gone. Never makes it to work. For nearly a month, she was missing, and they were family, friends, authorities were looking for her.
I just can't imagine the constant literal heartache of having a loved one missing.
No.
Missing.
The not knowing is a kind of hell that I can't even fathom.
I know. I think about it every time we talk about someone who's just, especially someone's child who's just missing.
Yeah.
I can't, don't want to wrap my head around that.
No. Then on August 20th, 1977, a horseback rider at State Line Stables made a grim discovery.
Oh, I hate a grim discovery.
I know. A shallow grave along the trails that they were riding. In the grave, police found Bryn's badly decomposed body. Her purse was still there, containing her identification. It was buried nearby, but it was like on the site. You know, it indicated that it wasn't like a robbery.
How did horseback riders find a shallow grave?
I think it was
maybe
just
like a foot was sticking out.
I think
something?
It was very shallow and just very obvious that like something was off.
Okay.
It was haphazard, to say the least.
Okay.
While the extent of decomposition made it difficult to determine the official cause of death, because it would have been August in this area, so it's not cold.
Yeah.
And she's in a very shallow grave where I think she was exposed to the elements, possibly animals, like...
There's animals around.
For sure. So this all made it difficult to determine the official cause of death, but forensic evidence suggested that Bryn had been sexually assaulted and strangled. There was not a lot of evidence at the scene. They collected everything that they felt was important at that time. they did the autopsy. They determined, like, we can't be 100% sure, but we're pretty confident her cause of death was strangulation. They were able to find in some of the, like, tissue that was left at the arms and legs that there were possible ligature marks. But again, it's like, we're not 100% sure, but it could be this.
If all that tissue is gone or going away.
Yeah.
It always kind of shocks me how forensic pathologists and coroners can
even get what they do get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That book Autopsy that I read by that Australian dude, when I told you about the death because you move your neck wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks.
It's like eagle neck syndrome or something.
No.
Him just going through the autopsies of these various crazy deaths. He's like, I noticed X, Y, and Z. I'm like,
yeah.
How?
That training is really important.
Remarkable.
It is remarkable.
So good.
So they don't have a ton of evidence. They don't have any witnesses. And Bryn's case quickly goes cold. 2 years later, in the summer of 1979, tragedy struck again. 16-year-old Carol Ann Anderson lived in State Line, Nevada. On June 30th, 1979, she went to a house party near the Heavenly Ski Resort. According to a 2015 news article, Carol's sister mentioned that the teenager had epilepsy and that her mother rarely allowed her to go out because of her condition, which to me, I think alludes to the possibility that Carol snuck out. She's 16. She wants to go do teenager things, like knowing her mom would likely say no. This could easily have been any of us at that age. We literally did do this.
Yeah.
So she
also, my first thought was Hereditary when
oh God,
the mom makes the brother take the little sister, but she has like this crazy nut allergy.
Yeah. No, as far as I know, Carol Ann's sister wasn't at the party.
Okay.
But that Carol Ann had just commented like, yeah, she went to the party. Our mom almost never let like anyone go out or never let her go out because of her epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
So
it just triggered the Hereditary.
1,000%. 1,000%. So she goes to the party, and as the night wore on, Carol's friends left the party one by one, each offering her a ride home, which she declined. She wanted to stay and make the most of a rare night out. It's like, especially if she snuck out, it's like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm making every minute count.
Absolutely.
The last time anyone remembered seeing Carol was around 11:30 p.m., still at the party. Police believe she likely left the party on foot alone and perhaps hitched a ride with a stranger, which was a common practice for teenagers in the 1970s, as we know from the hitchhiking episode and many, many times that's come up.
Mm-hmm.
The following morning, someone called the police to report finding a body on Sundown Trail. Now, this, I read a couple things that...
Sundown Trail.
I know, kind of scary. But Sundown Trail, I think, was like a side road because... Another report said that she was spotted by a passing motorist. So I don't think this was a hiking trail, kind of like the horseback riding thing. Mm-hmm. This was clearly
a road.
It was, but like this area where she was found, it wasn't exactly bustling, but it was clear that he wasn't trying to hide her.
Okay.
So that's the distinction that I'm making from Bryn's site of discovery and Carol's site of discovery.
Got it.
The manner of her death. Oh, sorry. It says, unlike Bryn, no attempt had been made to conceal Carol's body. So she wasn't even in a shallow grave. She was just like dropped there. However,
tossed out of the car.
Possibly, or, like, yeah, I'm not sure. Because even these crime scenes, like, there wasn't like blood because they were strangled. They may have been killed there. They may have been killed somewhere else and then left there. We're not sure. We still don't know. The manner of her death, Carol's death, bore a chilling similarity to Bryn's death, despite the fact that Carol wasn't buried the way that Bryn was. Ligature marks on Carol's wrists indicated she'd been bound, and like Bryn, Carol had been strangled, and there was evidence of sexual assault, though Carol was fully clothed when her remains were found. I don't know exactly what the state of Bryn's dress or undress was. I didn't see that in what I read, just that her remains were badly decomposed. I also saw that both of the young women were considered like, quote unquote, brutally beaten. So they definitely sustained a lot of injuries that, whether or not the decomposition had been considerable, were still able to be picked up, like on Bryn's autopsy. But I don't think Carol was, because she was so haphazardly left, I don't think she was dead for nearly as long as Bryn, because it was like weeks before Bryn was found. I think Carol was found pretty soon after it happened. So they were able to actually get more, you know, quote unquote evidence, or at least of what happened to her off of her actual body.
Yeah.
A newspaper report at the time suggested that police were looking for 2 suspects. I'm not sure why they thought it might have been 2. I don't think they knew right away that these cases were connected, and that they noticed that they were similar, but I don't think had at that point wrapped their heads around the fact that, yeah, it's in a very similar area. It's probably the same guy. They're like, oh, these 2 different attacks. This is so weird. But still no leads were found in Carol's case either. So neither Carol or Bryn's cases, despite, you know, being a couple of years apart in a similar fashion in a similar area, nobody was coming forward. Nobody saw anything. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on. And then Carol's case also went cold. So for decades, both Bryn and Carol's families mourned, unaware of the connection that would eventually link their murders. Like, they didn't even know.
Nobody connected them?
I don't think so. Not at this time.
Jesus.
They just, again, it's like that 2 suspects thing. They weren't looking for 2 suspects each in the same attack. They were looking for like 2 different suspects in 2 different attacks. I don't think that they thought at all that they were connected. So for over 4 decades, over 40 years, the murders of Bryn Rainey and Carol Anderson remained unsolved mysteries. And as I was reading about these girls, it just, this cases like this and this particular case like really makes me wonder and try to look deeper at what investigators are doing in these long stretches of cold cases. And the reality is not that much, which is why there's so little for me to report on from that 40-year plus stretch of time from when this happened and when we found out who did it.
Yeah. And as much as we have opinions about police,
I'm about to get to it.
When it comes to cold cases, in a lot of cases, they know that the technology to advance something is coming down the turnpike, but it's just not there yet.
I mean, it's definitely a yes and situation. That is certainly a factor. Lack of evidence is certainly a factor. But like, this made me want to look into this. So I did. Because you know I'm not one to give the justice system a pass at any point. Even when I can also hold the truth that some of these cases do not have enough for a determination to be made. I do understand that. But it is another angle of the structure of police funding that begs to be scrutinized and reevaluated, because even like today, we're sitting on mountains of evidence that just hasn't been tested because we don't have the resources for it.
The backlog.
Yeah. So while, of course, the advancements we have now weren't available during this investigation, a lot of cold cases stay cold because resources are reallocated to new cases that have more evidence. And cold cases have very little hope of being reopened until compelling new evidence arises to put resources back on that case. Yeah. And they're just sitting in a folder or whatever. And as the victims' families, even in some of these cases, literally die and there's no one left advocating for them, they're just collecting dust, even when there is new technology. So like, if we reallocated resources to more cold cases, what evidence could be uncovered if investigators were actually tasked to keep investigating rather than wait for something new to come across the desk or for some new technology to emerge? But that's neither here nor there. It's a frustrating issue that we see time and time again on this show. It sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole on cold cases. I did find a study from the Council of State Governments Justice Center that highlighted just how pervasive unsolved cases are, even now in the modern era of forensic technology. And like, that's more of a resource allocation issue, not we don't have the technology to solve it.
Yeah.
So this said, quote, in 2022, which is when they completed this study. So obviously there's probably more data now, but like this was still recent enough that I found this really compelling. 63% of violent crimes in the United States that were reported to police went unsolved. 63%
Of violent
of
crimes.
violent crimes. This means in a single year, there was no one arrested, charged, and referred for prosecution in over 800,000 violent crimes that included an estimated 10,000 homicides, 525,000 aggravated assaults, 169,000 robberies, and 98,000 rapes.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, states that have reallocated funding and invested in not only detectives, and I'm not saying regular cops, I mean like detectives, legitimate investigators, but also invested in community involvement and collaboration, have all seen better outcomes, not in just solving violent crimes and cold cases, but preventing these crimes from happening in the first place. So like
yes.
we have these bloated police budgets in every state, and the data shows time and time again that reallocating those budgets, because cops really don't need fucking tanks and millions in weaponry and tactical gear, has reallocating those kinds of resources has a very positive impact on communities and on like actual solve rates of crime, as well as crime prevention. So when that, I just wanted to like focus on that for a fucking second, because I feel like people really balk and recoil at the defund the police of it all. And we have to remember that like the reallocation of the budget is the main part of what that means. Those budgets don't go up consistently without the outcomes to back up the need for that spending, because, or the budgets go up, consistently across the United States for police every year, because it goes into a lot of unnecessary shit that makes a cop on the street like a militarized cool guy, rather than pouring it into community programs that reduce crime and trained investigative teams that actually solve cases, and investing in
that
the
have,
kind
like,
of crime labs.
Empirical evidence showing that it does work.
Like crime labs, autopsy, coroner reports. These are all part of the justice system that need funding, because we need those scientists, those experts that can look at a decomposed 27-year-old woman and tell us every fucking possible thing we could possibly learn to find their killer.
I was so energized after the crime lab, and after our hosts, our tour guides kind of like gave us a little like empowerment speech. They were like, it's the cops and the bureaucracy and the system that is preventing us from doing our jobs. It's
and
like,
that's not to say...
You guys are so fucking cool.
That's not
you
to say
have all
that
the tools in the world.
They really do. And it's not to say that there hasn't been corruption at those levels as well. There absolutely has. But it's not to the level where people are marching in the street calling for the defunding of a coroner, of their local coroner. Like there's a difference.
Yes.
So,
and I also think that when you have these cold case units, which are, of course, crucial, important, but in a lot of respects, it's allowing them to cherry pick the cases that they want to take, and guess which cases they're not fucking taking
and those
up.
cold case like investigators are not even necessarily part of a dedicated, we focus on cold cases team. It's usually a task force. It's not a department. So it's a task force that is already extending the capacity of investigators that are working on active scenes that do have more evidence. Again, it's that like allocation of resources. So these cold cases get the back burner, and like, I get it, but why do we have these multi-billion-dollar police budgets and we don't infuse them into departments
solving more crimes
that could solve more crimes?
Literally raising your numbers.
That's not even me saying like just get rid of it, get rid of all of that. It's like, could we actually infuse that with people who know what the fuck they're doing and have the proper training to work with the scientists, to work with the labs, and like keep these cases important,
alive?
Yeah. It's just, it makes me so sad. And you know,
those numbers are astounding in a year. 98,000 rapes.
Yep. And those are the 98,000 that went unsolved that had been reported. So can you even fucking imagine? I'm like, again,
10,000 homicides in a year.
10,000 that had no arrest at all.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So it's very sad. It's very frustrating. And, you too can get involved in your local ACAB chapter and connect with like-minded people who want to push for this kind of budget reallocation on the state level. And that's where getting involved in local politics is so important, because you can't really change the federal fucking police and defense budget. That's a much bigger elephant to eat one bite at a time. But you can get involved on a local level, where your city council and your mayor are working on those budgets together. You can get involved with your governor.
Your voice is a little bit louder when there aren't that many other people standing with you.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just to think of not just these women, but all of these families that we have discussed where the cases were cold for fucking decades. And like you said earlier, thinking about these people who, yes, they know their children are now gone, but they don't know why. They don't know who. They don't know, they don't know anything. That's not fucking justice. You might be able to finally say, okay, I don't have to look for her anymore.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how much better that is.
And then
it's probably just another flavor of excruciating pain.
And your cold case task force is barely working on anything. And if honestly, in a lot of cases, if these families aren't the ones advocating for the continuation of their children's case,
then no one is.
No one is.
Mm-hmm.
And they get completely left in the dust. And then when these tech advancements and forensic advancements do happen, no one is standing there going, okay, check my daughter's file. Check my daughter's evidence. They just get lost. And it's fucking devastating. Anyway, end of the backlog. Not just of rape kits, but holy shit, everything. I know. Which is, I get it. That's a big undertaking, but doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
It doesn't mean we can't take one step toward that.
Correct.
One single step toward that.
Correct.
It's a huge mountain to climb. We'll probably never get through it all, but that doesn't mean you can't
try to get through some of it.
Accomplish something.
Yeah.
You can't piece back together the lives of a few people.
But you could even, I don't know, save the lives of future people? Anyway.
Wow, what a leap.
I know, but that's not what the cops do. So anyway, decades later, in 2007, the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office formed a cold case task force that re-examined these two murders. The first significant breaks came in the years that followed, so after 2007. Between 2012 and 2013, investigators were able to obtain male DNA profiles from evidence in both cases. Now, I don't know exactly what the DNA was. They were swabs taken from bodies. One was blood on a shirt. So there was a swab taken from Carol's body during her 1979 autopsy. That yielded a male DNA profile. There was blood from a shirt that Bryn had been wearing that also had a partial profile. I think there was additional DNA, but the crucial DNA came from these two things.
Okay.
I tried to get more information in Carol's case on what was swabbed, as there had been evidence or at least the suggestion of sexual assault in both cases. It's entirely possible that this was a semen swab, but also keep in mind that these are small samples, because at that time, we didn't have this technology. So even though we were oh yeah, we should collect this because one day that will be useful, how much is collected is typically a lot less in these older cases. And then they sit in evidence lockers and they do deteriorate over time. So it's very exciting when you find DNA, but it doesn't necessarily end up being, as we've discussed before, the quote unquote smoking gun that people get
a robust profile.
Exactly. It's okay, all we can get off of this right now is that it's a dude with these specific potential,
a
markers.
male excretor.
These profiles were uploaded to the Combined DNA Index System, or CODIS, but unfortunately no matches were found. The cases were shelved again until 2017, when the task force turned to a groundbreaking technique, genetic genealogy.
ever heard of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go over this in too much detail because most of us know. But in case you don't, the long and short, this method goes beyond direct DNA matches in criminal databases, and instead investigators employed a private company, Paraben Nanolabs, which is a DNA tech company, to analyze the DNA evidence beyond what the El Dorado crime lab was able to get from those samples. Paraben used genetic genealogy, the same process that ultimately identified the Golden State Killer, to build a quote-unquote family tree by comparing the crime scene DNA to user-submitted DNA kits in public databases like GEDmatch.com or what's the other one? 23andMe.
Ancestry.com.
Ancestry. Like, you can opt to have those shared so that you could be contacted in the event of something exactly like this.
Or just like, oh, I'm your sixth cousin.
Right.
Let's email.
Mm-hmm. This process rarely identifies a suspect directly, but instead helps narrow down the pool by finding close genetic relatives. Through this painstaking process, Paraben was able to identify 3 deceased brothers as potential sources of the DNA.
All
Investigators
3
then
brothers were deceased?
Yes. So they found these 3 dead brothers that had a lot of genetic similarities with what they were able to get off of that DNA swab.
These 3 dead
3
brothers.
dead brothers. And then they were like, okay, it's probably one of these 3 dead brothers. Let's look at their descendants.
Okay.
So they looked at their descendants, and this led them to the family of Joseph Stephen Holt. Holt was born in the Bay Area in 1947. He graduated from Cupertino High School and attended UC Berkeley. He moved to South Lake Tahoe in 1974 and worked in real estate in the Tahoe area. He died in 2014 at the age of 66. I'm not exactly sure how he died, and I don't give enough of a fuck about him to have checked. I had already written a lot. I didn't fucking bother.
Bye.
Crucially, Holt lived less than 2 miles from where both Bryn and Carol's bodies were discovered. And as a realtor, he frequently traveled between San Jose and South Lake Tahoe, so he would have been very familiar with that whole area. Now,
weird.
I couldn't find any of those sound bites that we often see in cases like these attesting to his character or how quiet or affable or what a pillar of the community he may have been. I don't know. And I don't care. But his descendants had no idea that he had done this or had this dark past. And they willingly cooperated. Like, his sons were like, yep, we'll give you anything you need. They cooperated in his investigation. One of his sons, we're about to get to it, so I won't say that. But yeah, they haven't made any public statements about Joseph, and frankly, I don't fucking blame them. I cannot even imagine you're pinged out of the blue by an investigation team that's like, hey, we're checking these old swabs from 2 murders in the 70s.
Yeah, might have been your dad.
It might have been your dad, and then the DNA matches, and they find out he was definitely in the area at that time. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's really fucking...
The odds of it not being him are...
very slim.
kind of small.
Very, 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 very slim. And of course, he's not alive to stand trial, but this case, at least for these 2 women, these 2 murdered women, it's pretty unequivocally accepted that he killed them. Too much adds up. Family interviews, family history. There's also some evidence that they get from these kids. So in 2018, investigators contacted Holt's living family, including a biological son, who fully cooperated with all of their inquiry. The son provided his own DNA and even an old toothbrush that belonged to his father, Joseph.
Ooh, creepy.
Subsequent DNA testing confirmed the undeniable link. Joseph Holt's DNA matched the DNA found on Bryn Rainey's shirt and Carol Anderson's body. El Dorado County District Attorney Vern Pearson announced the identification of Holt as their suspect on February 25th, 2019.
Wow.
I mean, these girls were killed in 1977 and 1979, and this man's name is finally being spoken publicly in 2019.
Okay. So your dad is dead.
Yes, he is. Let's go.
If you found yourself in this exact scenario where you were approached by investigators and your dad has been really definitively linked to these murders, will you help us close this case.
Mhm.
Wouldn't a big part of you want to be like, don't talk about my dad that way?
I think it would be really hard, but I think the part of me that cares about other people would not let me not cooperate in something like that.
Yeah.
And the work of figuring out how to grapple with the discovery of what my father had done is mine and isn't the fault of those families or those girls or the people that were still out here looking for them for the last 40 years. So like, I think that would be one of the most impossible and unfathomable things to be confronted with that you could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I really commend this, specifically his son, for his willingness to do that, because I can completely understand the urge to be like, no, I don't want to know these things. And I wouldn't
I don't want to help the world confirm these things.
No, I think it would be unbelievably hard, but I don't think I personally could say no and then like look at myself in the mirror ever again.
I don't think I could either.
I don't think you could.
Especially if he was already dead. If he was
Especially
alive,
like
that would be a lot. I mean, I think that would be more complicated.
Yeah, and it would be my job in therapy to figure out how to preserve the things about my father that I loved and that were meaningful, and the things that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not the response. You know, that's not the responsibility of these girls and their families.
No,
that's my shit.
Let their families get
some kind of closure.
The way that they've been feeling for the last like fucking 40 years or whatever.
It's like
you can handle it.
I can be more fucked up.
You can get therapy. He's already dead.
Yeah, he gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I thought about that too when I was writing this. I was like, fuck. I mean, I really feel for his son.
Yeah.
And his surviving family. Like, this would be earth-shattering. Your whole world would change.
Yeah.
And not
especially if you had no fucking inkling that he was like an asshole.
No clue. And you know, if you have these ideas of who your parents are, but also that like earth-shattering sense of self that would get completely fucking thrown in the garbage can, because like your parents and, you know, for a lot of people, like raise you, make you who you are.
Your entire origin story.
Who the fuck am I if my dad
cracked.
was a fucking murderer?
Mm-hmm.
And
then you'd have to think about like, how old was I in 1977?
Yeah, he probably wasn't born.
Did he come home and have dinner with us that night?
Who knows?
Woo!
Who knows?
Also, the Clove Hitch Killer. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
really
the vibe is Clove Hitch, Golden State. I mean, Clove Hitch isn't real, but you know,
it's based on BTK.
Yeah, BTK for sure. Similar vibe. So interestingly, investigators discovered that, quote, Joseph Holt was never on the radar prior to the DNA breakthrough. They had never even looked at him as a suspect, which is frustrating because of something we're about to get to. So further investigation into Holt's remaining personal effects yielded even more suggestive evidence. They found a 1975 news clipping about an unsolved, non-fatal shooting in Los Gatos.
The cats.
Mm-hmm. And there was a sketch produced by Los Gatos police at the time of that non-fatal shooting that bore a striking resemblance to a contemporary picture of Holt.
I'm going to the drive.
Yeah. So much so that Holt is now considered a suspect in that crime as well. It's him. Like, I'm sorry. Someone handed him a picture.
Yeah.
And said, draw this man. And then they drew him and forgot the bottom half of his goatee, basically.
Yeah. Man.
So,
those eyebrows.
You know, that's another thing that is so frustrating to read about after the fact, because it's like, if any of these precincts were in the habit of sharing information with each other about some of the cases or, you know, whatever, then like maybe Los Gatos, like this area isn't that far from where he'd already been hanging around in the mid 70s. Like if only, and I know hindsight's 2020, but like if only we had or you know, anyone in connection with the investigation into Bryn or Carol's deaths had access to that, and like other people talking about these possibilities or whatever. I know it was like a different crime. It just makes you think about like what could have been. It's like that fucking good of a sketch is sitting connected to a different crime in a different precinct somewhere else. And so it's like, it's so close, but it's so far away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's like now the police are still looking into his past because it's like, well, fuck, this was probably him. The timeline pans out. The sketch is fucking
spot on.
Wildly accurate.
It's a photocopy.
Yeah. And we know he was in that area. Like, what else could he have gotten up to?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what I always think about too. It's like, okay, you got caught for murdering 2 women. How many other people did you abuse and potentially murder? How many women did you assault?
That's what I want to know. We're going to get there. I'm almost done. But like, I have my thoughts on that. And I think that they are shared. I really think that you'll feel exactly the same way. So while Joseph Holt died in 2014 and will never face trial for the murders of Bryn Rainey and Carol Anderson, the identification of him has brought a measure of closure to their families after decades of agonizing uncertainty. Carol's family did release a public statement saying that through the hard work and efforts of the investigators, they were able to give the family some answers and some closure. And to ultimately allow Carol Anderson to rest in peace with like the knowledge of who did this to her. What guts me is that with him dead, we'll never know his motive for these murders, though it's certainly speculated that they were acts of sexual violence. It's possible that he had intended to rape these girls and things either got out of hand or he wanted to get away with it and not leave the girls alive to implicate him.
Yeah.
But like you were just, I think, getting to, with crimes as violent and potentially sexually motivated, I mean, it seems pretty clear that they were, as these, not just because there's evidence of sexual assault, but a lot of like tying up, the strangulation, that's all very closely connected to sexually motivated crime.
It's ritualistic.
Yeah.
And you don't just jump to that.
No, it's highly unlikely these were his only 2 victims, even if they were the only 2 that he killed.
Yeah.
So, to that end, the El Dorado County Case Task Force continues its investigation into Joseph Holt, seeking to determine if he may be responsible for other unsolved crimes in the South Lake Tahoe and San Jose areas. They're asking for the public's help in identifying any crimes that may have been witnessed, or if you know any victims that may have been associated with Holt. Anyone with information is urged to contact the task force hotline at 530-621-4590. And there was another article talking about this task force and this case, and they put together a picture of like Joseph Holt through the years so that it can make it a little bit easier maybe for people from different eras to be like, oh shit, yeah, I did see that guy. Or
he does look kind of different. I mean, he has the same fucking googly eyes.
He does, but his facial hair, his levels of baldness, like things do kind of seem to change a little over time. But it sounds like his son or surviving family provided a lot of these photos so that if they're still looking into this dead man to be like, what the fuck else did this guy do? Because I think they feel similarly that we do, where it's like, this is a lot. And now this weird shooting thing happened over here. And that sketch is really accurate. And he would have been there at that time. We think that was him. What else might he have done? We don't know. So if any of these photos or, you know, this story or that region of South Lake Tahoe or the surrounding area in that time is like ringing any bells for you, and you got something weird that never really made sense, or somebody went missing, or someone you know was harassed or approached by this guy, call that fucking task force.
Yes.
So that we can really close the book on this asshole. Because holy shit. And that's my case.
Well, that sounds great. Also, I did look up Dusty P's original email.
Yes.
They live about 30 minutes away from the lake.
That makes a lot of sense. I kind of figured it was just a geographical location choice, but you never know.
Well, thank you, Dusty P, for your topic choice.
Seriously,
of Lake Tahoe
fascinating.
Crimes. Yeah, kind of dark.
Oh, yeah.
But I really want to go to Pyramid Lake. Not that that's what the episode was about.
Fuck Lake Tahoe. That place is a hellhole.
Well, people vanish all the time.
I heard that they found a massive underground nuclear power plant under Pyramid Lake.
Oh.
Potentially built by the Tahoe Sea Monster.
I heard there was a big scaly bird flying all around using Lake Tahoe as his own personal whirlpool.
Listen, that I'd believe.
Well, the Ong lives.
Rest in peace.
The drowned will never be given up.
May your spirit continue to soar with the eagles.
Minus your wings, because they were used as a sailboat.
Oops. My bad. That was rough. Anyway, we love you all. And if
Thank you
want,
so much for listening. And yeah, if you want to hear this ad-free, hop over to our Uncorked page.
It's out. We put the ad-free episodes up the same day, so you don't have to wait. It's right there for your ear holes, baby.
It's right there. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.